I'm Joe Arnold, president of the Louisville Forum, and welcome to our October 2022 meeting. The template here, that's not very good. Don't read your notes. We meet on the second Wednesday of each month at Vincenzo's Restaurant in downtown Louisville. All are welcome, no matter the month. Founded in 1984, the Louisville Forum is a nonpartisan public issues group that hosts debates and discussions of contemporary and sometimes controversial public policy issues that affect our greater Louisville community. For more information on the Louisville Forum, our programs, or to make reservations, please visit louisvilleforum.org. Well, since city-county merger took effect 20 years ago, only two people have served as Metro Mayor, Jerry Abramson and Greg Fisher. So they tend to stay a while. One of these two people standing on either side of me will serve for at least 4 years as our next mayor. As I introduce them, a quick reminder, in the interest of time, out of respect for our candidates, please refrain from any responses or applause during today's debate, with the exception of the conclusion. And right now, when I ask you to please join me in welcoming the Republican nominee, Jeffersontown Mayor Bill Dieruf, and the Democratic nominee, Craig Greenberg. In a moment, veteran journalist and Louisville Forum board member Lawrence Smith will moderate this debate. But first, the candidates' opening statements decided by a coin flip, and going first is Craig Greenberg.
Good afternoon, Louisville Forum. Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you all and the amazing organization that you have. I'm running for mayor because, like many of you, I know that there are big challenges in our cities today. But my entire life, when I've seen big challenges, I've seen even bigger opportunities. And that's why I'm running for mayor, to turn these challenges into opportunities and to move Louisville forward in a new direction. Before we get going with the back and forth of questions over the next hour, there are three things that I would like everyone in this room to remember about this race as you all are deciding who to vote for and who can best lead Louisville in a new direction. First, public safety. My opponent and I have two very different approaches to public safety, which I believe is the #1 issue facing our city today. We must do everything possible to reduce the amount of senseless gun violence that is plaguing our city, to reduce the amount of violent crime, to reduce the amount of crime, period, with a comprehensive approach. I aspire to have the best police department in America. To me, that means one that is the most trained, the most trusted, and the most transparent. But we must do more than policing. We must invest in community programs to give kids enrichment and educational opportunities, invest in the root causes of poverty, invest more in mental health resources. And we can't talk about public safety without talking about guns. And that's one area where Bill and I have very different approaches and very different beliefs. As mayor of J-Town, Bill had a proposal that would give, in response to a mass shooting several years ago, that would give everyone a free concealed carry permit and would flood our streets with guns. I believe we need to do everything possible to crack down on illegal guns and have fewer guns on our street and not implement proposals that would flood our streets with more guns. Very different approaches to public safety. Second, women's rights and abortion. Another area that Bill and I have very different approaches. I believe in a woman's right to choose. I oppose Kentucky's extreme abortion ban that has no exceptions for women to get the health care that they need and deserve right now. And after Roe versus Wade was overturned, now more than ever, this is a state and local issue. As mayor, I have committed that LMPD resources will not be used to arrest any women or doctors for violating Kentucky's extreme abortion ban. That's a commitment that Bill has refused to make, but that is now more than ever a state and local issue. And the third thing I would like everyone to keep in mind is Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has made it clear what this race is all about. Just yesterday, his super PAC has started spending hundreds of thousands of dollars with false attack ads against me. The most partisan person in America is looking to take over our city government, Louisville city government. First, he came for the Supreme Court, and now he's coming after the Louisville city government. We cannot let this happen, friends. We must move Louisville forward in a new direction, not in Mitch McConnell's direction. Let's work together to address public safety in our community. Let's work together to build 15,000 affordable housing units across our entire community, to address our homeless crisis, to create good-paying new jobs and rebuild our economy and rebuild our downtown and invest in neighborhoods that have been overlooked for our entire lifetime. And together, when Louisville's on the map for some of the wrong reasons, let's work together to make universal pre-K a reality so that every 3- and 4-year-old child has the same opportunity to succeed, to lead a healthy life, a safe life, and a prosperous life. So I'm excited about the opportunity to be your Democratic nominee to be the next mayor of Louisville, but I'm even more excited about the opportunity to work with you all and friends across this entire city to move Louisville forward in a new direction. Thank you all very much.
Yes, sir. I'm Bill Dieruf, the Republican candidate for Metro Louisville's mayor. Yes, we are distinctively different. I have 12 years of successful experience of being a mayor in this community, leading this community to a point of I can't go anymore in J-Town. I see that downtown needs our help. Yes, I am successful in J-Town, but I've also been the president of Kentucky League of Cities through the pandemic and across the state, and I visited 187 cities during the pandemic to help them. I understand what it means to unify a group of people during a pandemic, during a tornado, and during a flood. Last November, I set the campaign aside in order to help those people that were affected by the tornado because I realized they need our help more than me campaigning. There is more important things in this world than sitting up here talking to you all, I have to tell you. I do this on a daily basis. As the mayor of Jeffersontown, there was a horrendous situation that happened. We had the Kroger shooting. And that's a point in time that defines a mayor. And if you've never done this job before, you don't realize what it means to have police, public works, parks, all the silos to be filled. And when that situation happened, you had to unify a community to say this does not define us, but this is horrendous that this happened. When we start talking about guns, the problem is guns aren't the solution. It's the person committing the crime that we have to go after. He wants to go after the gun. I want to arrest the cartel leaders and the gang leaders and get them off the street. So the difference is I want to get the drugs and the cartel leaders and the gang leaders who are affecting our kids off the street. He wants to drill holes in guns and send them to Frankfurt. And when you send them to Frankfurt, they aren't being sold in Kentucky, guys. They're being sold in Arkansas and Kansas and other states when they're auctioned off. None of those guns have ever been affected by a crime in Louisville, Kentucky at the resale value since going back to 2020. We start talking about what the future is when we start about policing. I've said this many times. Rick Sanders, who's my chief right now, who has been 24 years DEA in command, understands what drugs is, understands what cartels is, was DEA in command in Miami and Chicago, got drug leaders off the streets, was Kentucky State Police Commissioner, and also has been my police chief. He will be coming with me in some capacity. We understand when we say day one is not January 1, guys. As a mayor, day one is now. We're already working in Frankfurt to bring the Juvenile Justice Center back in a new way. We have to have the kids have consequences, but we also have to make sure the kids understand how to get better, get them off the streets, show them the better life, what they have the options to do in the future. We also are working in Frankfurt to see about the drug situation. How do we change? And when we start talking about policing, there's 3 to 5 different ways to do this that we're doing right now. One, community policing is a key. We have to make sure we have the police on the street that has the people know who they are. Don't you want to know your police officer? We require our police officers to get out of our cars and go visit the community, ride the bikes and get to know their community. We want our police officers to work with the residents, the police department, and the city hall to make sure this is a safe community. If we're ever wanting to do economic development in the future, we're going to have to make sure this is a safe community. We also have to do this side that is what we do is where the Angel program where we help those addicted. It's called REACH. We reach out and help those that are addicted, whether they walk in our police department or whether they're homeless. We have to help those that are homeless on the streets to say that if you're a vet, we have USA Cares that help you. If you're addicted to drugs, we have the Angel program that has over 300 locations that stays with you during the detox and for the rest of the time. If you're a victim of spouse abuse, which is the largest increasing crime in our community. We have the victim's advocate, takes you to the courts, and also takes you to get healed. But the one thing that my opponent keeps attacking and lying about on many sides is, well, let me step back. He did mention that there is a PAC that supported Mitch McConnell. He doesn't own the PAC. It's just a PAC. They just happen to support him. But there's a Democratic PAC. How many times has a Democratic group of people formed a PAC to support a Republican? Never. Now, one of the people that testified on it did not live in this town anymore, but also Chris Gorman was a staunch Democrat that is saying, yes, we need a new mayor and we need to pick the person and forget about the party. So we start looking to the future. We need to have a person that can say, I am the one that has been a nonpartisan mayor and I'm ready to lead in the future. We start, you stopped me. All right. I will say this in the last 10 seconds, that the future of Louisville is based on somebody that can move in day one and do what's needed across the whole community. Thank you.
And there will be plenty of time to get to all these issues. Hello again, everyone. As Joe said, the questions will come from myself, but the best questions will come from you. So if you would write those down and give them to Louisville Forum board members who will be circulating around to get them, I know those will be the best questions that come today. Each candidate will have a minute to answer the question. I'll make every attempt to alternate between the candidates. I'll have the option of asking follow-up questions or allowing a 30-second rebuttal time as well. There are timekeepers seated here. Will give us 30-second and 10-second warnings. And please, I ask you as much as you can to stay within that time frame. All right. The first question I will ask, and you both mentioned this one in your opening statement. It's probably the top issue in Louisville right now, and that is violent crime. Shootings, homicides, you mentioned them, but outline your plan in a little more detail, if you would, to make Louisville a safer city. We'll start with Mr. Greenberg.
Sure, we must do everything possible to reduce the amount of violent crime in our city. Over 130 people this year have already been murdered due to senseless gun violence. 330 more have been hurt, and thousands of families across our entire city. So I disagree with Bill. I do think we have a gun problem here in Kentucky and in America. And one thing that we can do is right now under Kentucky law, when guns are confiscated by LMPD, they're turned over to Frankfurt, who in turn auctions them off. And contrary to what Bill said, those guns do find their way back onto the street and have been proven and tracked that the same guns that are used to commit crimes in Louisville are found back on the street and used to commit crimes again. So yes, on first day of my administration, we will change the policy and we will render guns inoperative before turning them over. But we must do more. We must invest in the root causes of crime and poverty. We must invest more in educational programs so kids have opportunities to succeed. We must fully implement group violence intervention programs, and we must ensure that our police take part in community policing to prevent crime from happening, as opposed to just having the resources to respond to crimes.
All right, this is an important issue, so I want to call an audible here and give Mr. Dieruf a minute as well to talk about crime.
Thank you. Crime is a key factor wherever we travel, wherever we talk. Everybody wants to know about policing and how are we going to make this city safe, whether it's economic development, but it's a safety. When you go to Kroger or whether you're in parts of town, we had one part down in Portland, 11 mothers I was talking to, they said they won't let their kids go outside and play because they're afraid of stray bullets. We had one mom that had her kid that sleeps in the cast iron tub because of bullets coming through the house. This is not acceptable. We have to start with the tough crime. Quit arresting the people that shouldn't be arrested. We have to have the people that are the strong, violent criminals put in jail, not the kid that happens to have the turn signal, the black male. Let's quit going after them. The gang leaders are the ones I've said that we want to go after. That's the intelligence-led policing, and Rick Sanders can do that. We understand what that's about, but we also have to have the community policing to where the people in the community and the police get to know each other to stop the crime all across this community, and have to have the soft side to help those that we shouldn't be arresting in the future.
Next question, I'll start with you. What do you think is at the root of the violent crime problem, and how do you fix it?
Root of the violent crime, anytime we start arresting people, we always see the problem is drugs. And it's whether it's addiction or whether it's a cartel bringing the drugs in. When we start talking about addiction, that's where we need to help those people before they get to that point. We need to have the resources available, whether it's the Angel program or someplace else, of helping the people get off the streets if they're there. Do they have to do petty crimes? We also have to have the resources if they are home and they need help. We also, the people that are bringing the drugs in here, the cartel and the drug leaders, we have to make sure they go off the streets. Now, unlike my opponent, drugs and guns go together. So if we take the gang leaders and the drugs off, the guns go with it. So whenever we do a seizure, we have both the gang leader, the drugs, and the guns all on the table. So the illegal guns are the things that we're most concerned about, not the legal guns that we need to take off the streets. We need to stop the proliferation of drugs coming into here. They're coming from the north. Everybody thinks they're coming from Mexico, but they're actually coming from the north, and we need to stop us as the main train force of those drugs coming to us.
Mr. Greenberg, the root, in your view, of violent crime, and how do you fix it?
I believe that the root causes of much of the gun violence in our city today fall into three categories: poverty, drugs, and domestic violence. We can and must do more to address all three of these things. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with the resources that the federal government is providing our city of Louisville to invest in comprehensive solutions to address the root causes of poverty, to invest in more public education so that kids get the opportunities that they need to succeed, to make universal pre-K a reality. Those might be long-term solutions. We also need short-term solutions, like group violence intervention programs that have worked well to reduce violent crimes by over 50% in other cities. And domestic violence is a growing source of murders and violent crime in our city. Over 10% of the murders this year are due to domestic violence. We must do more, not just within our police department, but working with other nonprofit organizations around this entire community to end domestic violence in our city, not just for those who are being directly harmed, but for the kids in the household that are also being indirectly, severely impacted by domestic violence.
This question first is for you, Mr. Greenberg. You've both talked about the importance of fully staffing LMPD. How do you do that, and how do you pay for it?
Sure, I believe we should aspire to have the best police department in America. To me, that means the most trained, the most trusted, and the most transparent. We need one focused on community policing that does have a full staff of 300 more officers that are working with neighborhood leaders, members of the clergy, medical professionals, formerly incarcerated individuals, neighborhood leaders. Anyone who wants to be a part of the public safety solution should be working with our police department to prevent crime from happening on their block, in their neighborhood, in our city. We can do that by not just paying more, but also ensuring that the police have the support of the mayor, of city government, and that we use very proactive approaches to recruit more folks to our street. This is a very different approach than Bill. Bill talked earlier about who he's going to bring downtown to run in City Hall. Let me be very clear what that translates into. That was Matt Bevin's top police commissioner who he's talking about. I don't believe we need more people from Matt Bevin's administration. That will take our city backwards. We need to move it forward in a new direction to address the challenging public safety solution that we have in our public safety crisis that we have in our community today.
Mr. Dieruf, LMPD.
Thank you. First, let me say that Rick Sanders' integrity and record is beyond reproach. For somebody to cast a dispersion that when he worked for the state, it was anything but great is dishonest and shouldn't be said. He's not here to defend himself, and it's not right. We start talking about policing. What we will have already happening is when J-Town had 2 openings, the money wasn't difference because LMPD already raised their salaries. In fact, actually at that point they were above us. We had 100 LMPD apply. That's because leadership matters. They believe in the leadership that will train them properly for de-escalation, get to know the neighborhood, and have the people come back. We need the full force of somebody that really understands what policing's about. I have been a part of Kentucky Law Enforcement Council where I took the certification away from those police officers should not be in policing, but also I understand what it would mean to bring police officers to our community and have them as part of the community, not as an adversary of the community.
All right, this question I think starts with you. Is that right? With you, okay. Yeah. I'll get it right.
We'll keep you there. We've been doing this for a while, right, Greg?
That is true.
And this is a question that I have, but also from the audience. The issues that LMPD go beyond staffing and dollars. How do you help LMPD move beyond the Breonna Taylor tragedy and rebuild trust? And it's a question from the audience is, how do you gain trust and respect for the police department?
That's where we keep repeating the words community policing. And when I talk about our police officers, they get out of cars and get to know the community. They have to be a part of the community. Now, also the benefits of somebody who lives in the community is resounding. And we've started doing that, but we haven't done that completely. So it's not a must. But we have police officers that are great police officers, guys. But they need to have the authority to go out and meet the people in the community. In order to do that, we can't have police officers that have 5 and 6 runs behind them. We met with some of the protesters that said, we don't want police. By the time we left that and told them, explained to them about knowing your police officers, they were giving us hugs because they realize a community that works together, we can get rid of the gangs and cartel leaders because our kids, our youth, has to have a chance in the future. In order to have a chance in the future, we have to have police that work with the community and get to know the community. We have to have the training to where the police officers put on the uniform and say, I am here to help those areas that I'm at.
Mr. Greenberg, we're gaining trust between the community and the police.
Well, I'll actually answer that by using Bill's words that he just said. Leadership matters. And leadership in this community is critically important to unite our city across these issues and to work together to improve public safety. We don't need a leader who, in response to a mass shooting, had a proposal that would flood our streets with more guns. We need fewer guns on our streets to reduce the amount of violent crime. Our city is not looking for more people from Governor Matt Bevin's administration to be in charge of public safety in this city. They're not looking for a police department that was installed by Mitch McConnell's hand-picked mayor. We need new people. We need folks in this room. We need folks from West Louisville, from East Louisville, from South Louisville. We need members of the clergy. We need neighborhood leaders. We need people from across this entire city who want to work together arm in arm to implement these comprehensive solutions together to move Louisville forward in a new direction, to make Louisville a safer city, a stronger city, and a healthier city.
You wanted the 30-second rebuttal, Mr. Dieruf.
To minimize the Kroger shooting by my candidate is horrendous. To say that we allowed people to carry guns because of the Kroger shooting is horrendous and shouldn't be used. The fact that the Kroger shooting happened was something that touched my heart, and we had to unify a community to make sure we're all safe. The fact he's talking about some gun thing that we did, I don't know where that came from. It has nothing to do with the Kroger shooting, even at that. So to say that it's not really true and it's disheartening and dishonest.
Lawrence, 2 quick responses to that. First of all, I'm not doing anything to minimize the Kroger shooting. Bill can't even remember his own record. In 2012, in response to mass shootings around the country, he proposed that J-Town provide free concealed carry permits to everyone in the city. I do not believe we need more guns on the street. And I don't need to be lectured by someone about gun violence. On Valentine's Day of this year, an individual walked into my room, my office, and from 15 feet away, fired 6 gunshots at my team and I. And that afternoon, I stood behind a podium in front of cameras and said, we're going to continue in this race. And the number one issue that is motivating me is the strongest resolve to end senseless gun violence in America. So there is no one in this room today, in this city, that is going to work harder day and night to reduce the amount of senseless gun violence. I owe it to my family. I owe it to everyone in this city.
Moving on from this, same subject, different topic from the audience, and this is for you first, Mr. Greenberg. Do you plan to keep Erica Shields as chief of police?
Well, right now, I'm rooting for Chief Shields and everyone on LMPD to succeed. We cannot wait until January 2nd to continue to make improvements to our public safety crisis that we have in Louisville. We need all of the hardworking men and women of LMPD to have the resources they need between now and Election Day, between January 2nd on Inauguration Day, so we can continue to reduce the amount of violent crime. So I think it would be presumptuous to name anyone to any new positions, but just let me be clear. We need to move Louisville forward in a new direction, and we need to all work together to address the challenges that LMPD is dealing with and the challenges that we are dealing with as a community. And so I'm excited about putting together a new administration with a diverse team of people from across this entire city. that have very broad ranges of experiences in many different areas than me, that share my sense of urgency and action-oriented approach, that don't believe we need any more studies of our problems, that are focused on action. And together, let's work together to make Louisville a safer city.
Dieruf, do you plan to retain Chief Shields?
Well, let me first answer we'll back one more up. The concealed carry was done by Councilman Ronnie Powell at the time, so let's get the record straight. The keeping of Chief Shields is something that will be looked at when we win the mayorship. And I have to say that's one thing that we do agree on, finally. There's something today that you all can say we agreed on, that we need to look at the police department as a whole. We're going to have the DOJ come in, and we have also done a study with 100+ items that need to be corrected. And we need to take all that together and see who is the best fit to be that chief, to be the administration of bringing safety to our community. And when we do that, we already have been doing that in Jeffersontown. So we know items that have been working, and we'll be adjusting them day by day. So when we come downtown, we understand what needs to be done, and we understand how to work with the Department of Justice, because Rick Sanders was a Fed, and he worked with different departments up there, so he understands how to work within the system to get what's needed in this community as a safe and transparent police department.
This next question begins with Mr. Dieruf. What changes will you make in Metro Corrections, where a dozen inmates have died over the past year?
One thing is they are shorthanded. So a lot of the programs that they have on the books that were working at one time, they can't do. So I've already started talking to the FOP at the corrections on how do we get more people to come to work. One, the simple thing they ask is, can we go from corrections and go into LMPD? It's not allowed now. What better way to be a nonviolent person to learn how your employee is, learn nonviolence, and to move into LAPD if they want? Also, we have to start looking at the jail and remodeling the jail so it becomes a modern jail, not a corridor jail. I don't know if you're all aware, the policing in the past, or corrections in the past in the jails was a corridor. At the end, you had the corrections officer, and then you had a corridor. You can't see what's going on. We need to modernize it where it's more of like you have a nursing at a hospital. The center is where the correction officers are, and the inmates are around them so they can see what's going on to make it a safer jail.
Mr. Greenberg.
Over a year ago, my team and I saw that there was a crisis brewing at the jail. We called a community corrections crisis summit over a year ago with members of the corrections officers, medical professionals, criminal justice reform advocates, neighborhood leaders, and formerly incarcerated individuals to talk about the challenges that were there. Unfortunately, not enough has been done, but hopefully we have started to make some steps forward. Because yes, we do have a crisis. We need to address the issues. We need to provide more programs for those who are incarcerated to help them end the cycle of violence that they're caught in. And just think about this also. Right now, over 50% of our homicides in Louisville go unsolved. Yet over half of the inmates in our jail are there on bail of nonviolent crimes of less than $1,000. Something's not right with that. We need our resources geared towards reducing the amount of violent crime and preventing violent crime from happening and supporting others so that are in the criminal justice system don't continue to be in that revolving door, but have opportunities and support to have a new direction in life.
Part of the problem at the Metro Corrections is, of course, drugs. Mr. Greenberg, that reflects a larger drug crisis outside Metro Corrections. What is your plan to address the addiction crisis?
This is one of the critical issues, is the addiction challenge that we're facing across our entire city and country. As I mentioned earlier, right now we have a once-in-a-lifetime moment in time to address some of the biggest challenges like addiction in our city, because the federal government has invested hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars under the American Rescue Plan in our city. We have great nonprofits across our city, large and small, that are addressing it, from larger organizations like the Healing Place to smaller organizations. We as a community need to support these organizations to give them the resources they need, not just downtown, but across our entire city, because people are dealing with addiction across our entire city. And we need to treat it like the medical condition that it is, like the challenge it is to so many parts of our society, and work with medical professionals, mental health professionals, so that they have the resources to end addiction in our city.
Mr. Dieruf.
As a person that is a mayor for 12 years, we're not waiting to January 1. Actually, 6 years ago, the chief, I, and my major, Garrett, met with a group that's called HURT. It was 42 different people, whether they're the Healing Place, VOA, those that are recovering, the drug czar, police, doctors, attorneys, judges, and everybody around the table. And what I asked is, do not tell me how you got here, but tell me how we can lead in the future. And from that, we do not do studies, we do action. So we need the action plans to move in the future, and that's where the ANGEL program came about. And the ANGEL program has developed over time to where you can bring it in. You can walk into my police department with your drugs and paraphernalia. We have over 300 locations nationwide that are free, scholarshiped, or we have they accept insurance. But the program has expanded to where we realize we need to go out and help those that are homeless, help those that are in homes, and quit arresting the people and putting those people in jail. Let's give them the help they need now so they can be an active resident in our community in the future.
The next question is for you, Mr. Dieruf, and this comes from, well, there's several along this line. I'll try to summarize it. They talk about your experience in J-Town. It's a small suburban city. You've been there as mayor for 12 years. How does that prepare you for leading a much larger, much more diverse city like Metro Louisville?
So as far as diverse, J-Town is diverse. I mean, we have, as far as the culture is diverse, in fact, but as far as leading a city, there's many silos in the city. I mean, you got policing, public works, economic development, parks, and I do that every day, and I've done that for 12 years. When they say, oh, the experience you have in J-Town, that's not the same experience as Metro. My opponent has a city of population of 0. He has no experience on how to run a city properly. But when we start talking economic development, J-Town has the largest commerce park in the state. And we're 99.1% full on the warehouse and large developments. We understand how to move the city forward back for bringing jobs here, bringing the people to come to here, because we've already reached out to the community around the United States, whether Chicago or New York, and say, bring your job here. We understand how to help the businesses that are here, how to help the people that are homeless, how to police. All that comes into one factor that's called leadership that's successfully driving a city.
Lawrence, can I have an opportunity to respond to that, given that he said I have no experience?
Please.
Okay, please. I am proud of my experience, and I think I have the relevant experience to work with you all to be the next mayor of Louisville. I'm a proud JCPS grad. I was a reformer on the board of trustees of the University of Louisville, where I fought for more transparency, greater accountability, to end unnecessary tuition increases, and to bring honesty and integrity to that organization. And I also helped start and lead a wonderful locally based business, 21C Museum Hotels, that has over 12,000 employees, far more employees than the city of J-Town. I'm passionate about bringing teams of people together to move together in a common direction, and I have the values that Louisville is looking for, and the backbone to stand up to Mitch McConnell, who's looking to buy this race. So to me, that is very relevant experience as you all decide who the next mayor of Louisville should be.
Counter on that, please.
30 seconds.
One thing, Mitch McConnell isn't buying this race. Mitch McConnell is a part of a pack that he keeps bringing up. Mitch is not part of this race. This is a mayor's race. And to say just because you have 1,200 employees that you're experienced enough to do this, that is not the same of leading a police department, leading a public works, leading a disaster that may happen across the state where you are involved in it. It's a matter of experience that's leading a city as a leader, not a person that happens to own a business.
This next question, beginning with you.
You want to answer? Craig, you want to answer?
No, I think it's very clear which super PAC is controlled by Mitch McConnell. I don't think I need to respond to that.
No, I didn't know if you wanted to answer the question.
He did. He did. He already did. Yes. This question from the audience for you, Mr. Greenberg, says, I'm a lifelong Louisvillian and an independent. The city has not outperformed its peer group of cities after 53 years of Democrats. Why should we give you another 4 years? Or why should we give Democrats 4 more years?
I share your frustration. I'm running for mayor in part because I am frustrated too. The city is not moving at the speed, with the inclusivity, with the vibrancy, with the creativity, with the energy that I should believe it should be moving in. And that's why I'm running for mayor, because I want to work with you. as an independent, a Democrat, a Republican, anyone across the city that wants to move Louisville in a new direction, to improve public safety the ways that we've been challenging, and to also do much more, to make universal pre-K a reality so that every 3- and 4-year-old child has the same opportunity to succeed, to address our homeless crisis that isn't just impacting downtown, but is impacting every neighborhood across this city. We can do these big things if we work on it together. So I don't care what political party you are. I just want to work with people who have that same sense of urgency and share that goal to move Louisville in a new direction.
Do I have the opposite side of that?
Please.
As mayor of Jeffersontown, and I keep saying that, but it's true, I am the mayor, I'm working right now. I am nonpartisan. 419 cities in this state, 410 are nonpartisan. As a person that's sitting at my table, a mayor of Douglas Hills who is a Democrat, and by the way, half my team are Democrats and half are Republicans, and we didn't even know it until 3 months in. We just knew we had a vision of where Louisville should go, and we cared. So as a nonpartisan mayor, I understand what it is to make sure the city moves forward. And as I was going to say, Bonnie has a saying, potholes have no parties. So when we start running a city, we shouldn't worry about the R or the D. We shouldn't worry about inside the watershed, outside the watershed. We had merger 21 years ago, but we haven't united this whole community together. We have to have a mayor that understands how to do that, not only in Metro, but to work with the whole state, Frankfort, Murray, Kentucky, Inez, Kentucky, the whole state, so the future is based on Louisville moving forward to where it should go, and you'll be proud of the community.
Let's turn to the economy. Louisville's economy appears to be recovering from the pandemic. Unemployment rate is lower. But beginning with you, Mr. Dieruf, what is your plan for taking the next step in the city's economic growth?
Well, as I mentioned, right now I am a mayor that has the largest commerce in the state. What we did do during the pandemic 6 months in, we don't wait till the end to do something. In business, if you wait till the end, somebody's already passed you. We went to the larger cities and did a geocoding, geofencing. I'm not the tech guy, so I can't tell you. And we said, bring your job to J-Town. And we had the people move to J-Town, and the company came to J-Town. That's the opposite thinking of moving your business here. So that's why we started bringing people here. We started incentives for both the people that were here to grow and the people to come here to grow. But we have a huge economic ability right now that we have to be a mayor that understands economic development, is the Ford plant going down 65. We have to have our vendors, our suppliers, and our people here, whether they're attorneys, doctors, or what, to be able to supply that plant what they need. They have a choice when they leave that plant. They can go north to Louisville, or they can go south to Nashville. And Bowling Green's another one down there that's already stole our lunch on one plant that went down there. We have to be able to have a mayor that understands economic development.
Based on feedback I've received from business leaders across the whole city, organized labor leaders from across the entire city, I believe we have a three-pronged approach to economic development. First, we need to support local businesses that are already doing business in Louisville, whether they're large like GE and Ford and Brown-Forman and Humana, or whether they're small startup organizations. We need to reach out proactively and ask what those business leaders need to help grow their businesses in Louisville, to create more good-paying career path jobs here in Louisville. Second, we need to reach out and be seen as the most inclusive city in America, so that people who can work anywhere in the country want to live here, not just for our affordability, but for our quality of life and our inclusivity. And third, when there are opportunities to recruit businesses in some of our areas, strong areas, like whether it's Bourbon or certain areas of healthcare, or whether it's logistics, by all means, or batteries, we should definitely go after those businesses and recruit them here. And finally, all of us, organized labor, business, the public-private sector, must work together on workforce development so that everyone in our city, regardless of their education, has the opportunity for a good-paying career path job. Everyone does not need a 4-year degree anymore to have a good-paying career path job. And in Louisville, we can work with wonderful organizations and wonderful educational institutions across the city to make that happen.
This starts with you, Mr. Greenberg. The workforce has been slower to return to downtown. What is your plan to make downtown more vibrant and livable, especially when more jobs can be done remotely?
That's a big issue. I mean, we'll all see it today when we walk out of this lunch, because today, downtown is very different than it was prior to the pandemic. I spent my career working on urban revitalization and turning dreams into reality, creating jobs, revitalizing neighborhoods, and that's what we must do together here. I think the city needs to get out of the real estate holding company business and into supporting others that are going to create jobs, that are going to create mixed income, mixed use projects in downtown Louisville, because we need thousands of more people living down here. After the pandemic, the way people are working has changed forever. We need downtown to be the most vibrant, safest, energetic, authentic neighborhood in all of Louisville. And to do that, we need more green space, we need thousands of new residents, we need commercial buildings, we need all of that and more to be a true neighborhood down here that is thriving all days a week, not just when out-of-towners are coming in or when the few people that are still working downtown are here. And then people will want to be downtown and they'll return back to downtown because this is where they want to work. This is where they want to live. This is where they want to go out to dinner. So this is an area that I'm very passionate about, and I look forward to working with you all and anyone else in Louisville who is concerned about the future of downtown to make this a reality.
We have to have a mayor that cares. A mayor that cares about the downtown and cares about the community. A mayor that understands that downtown people don't want to be here if they don't feel safe. There's a reality of safety and there's a perception of safety. And the next mayor has to have both of them to where people feel safe coming downtown. But we have to reimagine what downtowns are like. If we keep thinking about what they were in the past, because I just had a economic development meeting right before this, and we started bouncing around ideas of what we think of the future is. When we start thinking of offices the way they were, we're behind the eight ball. We are looking into a model of work and live at the same place. We're doing this in J-Town in one of our acreages to put it out for bid. To where downtown has the office buildings. What better place to have where you can live there and work there at the same place? And if you want to work from home, you can work from home because that's your home and you are downtown. So we bring people downtown, and with downtown will come retail, will come all the services that you need. But we also have to where there's people like Jeff Underhill and Todd that are developing the Starks building to have the artists come here, to live here, to train here. So we are a mecca for the arts program because in order to have the people come downtown, they have to have a reason. And the arts program is a fantastic draw by any city. So if we're gonna have people come from other cities, not only do we have U of L sports or we have other sports programs, we have to look at the arts programs to attract people from around the community to say this is the place to come and live, work, and play.
Mr. Dieruf, starting with you, what's your take on the West End Opportunity Partnership? Some have embraced it as a great economic tool. Others remain skeptical.
The TIF is something my opponent actually pushed in and got pushed through. The people don't like it. I would say I would go back to Frankfurt and adjust it to where the people in the community have a true voice, not a token voice, to where they actually should be the ones to decide how the funding should be spent in the future in their community. They are the ones that are the boots on the ground, and they are the ones that should be the deciding factor on how to move that. So I would actually go back to Frankfurt and do the tweaking that needs to be done. I do this all the time. I'm in Frankfurt for the last 12 years. So whether it's a Democrat or Republican, as I said, I'm nonpartisan. I know all the different players. We can adjust that, and we need to bring it downtown, down to the West End, to all the communities, to where everybody can use it for the benefit of the community.
I can't help but note the irony of Bill's last comments that he can work across the aisle and then criticizes me for working with the Republican leadership of the House and Senate to pass a bill that has the potential to really invest hundreds of millions of dollars in a part of our community that has been overlooked for our entire lifetime. So yes, I believe it has the opportunity, it has the potential to be transformative, but it also does need more changes. Here are 3 specific changes. First, we must do more to crack down on negligent landlords that are charging too much to lower income individuals in the 9 neighborhoods of West Louisville and across our city. We need safe, affordable, and high quality housing for all of those individuals, and the state has to help us do more. We must do more so that the board of the West End Opportunity Partnership can be controlled by residents of the West End. And finally, right now there is a refund. If you're a homeowner, you will not pay more in taxes over the next 20 years if you live in one of the 9 neighborhoods of West Louisville. We need to turn that from a refund into a credit, so that individuals who are on fixed income and don't have the money to front those increased taxes before they get it back can simply get a credit and don't have to pay more. So yes, changes are necessary, but I believe in comprehensive solutions that will invest more capital in the neighborhoods of our city that have been overlooked for our entire lifetime.
So to counter that, I heard my opponent say one time that he was just advising, and this time he was in Frankfurt passing the bill. So I'm not really sure.
I didn't say that.
Is he on or off on the bill? Or actually, I have been one that has worked with everybody in Frankfurt on bills, multiple bills.
You want 30 more seconds?
It's not worth a response.
Okay. This question for Mr. Greenberg. You've made abortion an issue in this campaign, and this is a question, several questions like this from the audience. You made an abortion an issue when mayors had little to do with abortion policy. Why have you made this an issue?
Well, I challenged the underlying part of that question. Now more than ever, when Roe versus Wade was overturned, that court case specifically said it is no longer a federal issue. Abortion is an issue that is going to be dealt with the state and local governments. That is now the law of the land. Kentucky has an abortion ban that provides no exceptions for rape or incest. So regardless of what Bill says, the choices are, do we fight that extreme abortion ban and fight for the rights of women so that they can control their own health care, or do we let it stand? I will be voting no on Amendment 2. Our LMPD will not be arresting women or doctors, even if they are thought to have violated Kentucky's extreme abortion ban, because they need to be focused on preventing violent crime. And I will be working with women to support their rights. This has been a local issue for a while. It's also an issue of the buffer zone to protect women who are seeking medical care from clinics in downtown. And if it's not a local issue, why have Right to Life organizations across Louisville and Kentucky been endorsing local officials for 20 years? It is a local issue, and so don't believe those who tell you that it isn't, because now more than ever it is. And I stand with women.
Dieruf.
So this is where we disagree. The mayor has no power over abortion bill, whether it's on a federal level or on a state level. And a mayor should never, ever tell his police to stand down. That's following the same thing that's going on right now. So he is following the establishment that's in power right now, telling your police to stand down. That's scary. That means he's going to tell one person to arrest this guy, but not arrest this person. That's scary. But let me get back to where he keeps accusing me on his commercials and from the stage of where I am on abortion. And this is a very emotional issue for me, and I'm going to finish. The sanctity of life is very important to me. Very, very important. I had a daughter, Stephanie, that was born 3 months early. She was my daughter. She was a living person. She was my daughter. We went to the hospital every day for 6 months. She was very much alive. So when you start talking about when, I can tell you 3 months in, Stephanie was very much alive. She passed away in 18 months. So we value every single day that she was with us, her smiles. She couldn't speak because she had a trach, but we understood from holding her, feeling her, that she was a viable person. But when we start talking about abortion, I do not want any person to ever have to have an abortion. But I realize that we have to work with Frankfurt to bring the exceptions of rape, incest, life of the mother, and life of the child. That has to be something we look at in the future. And we shouldn't use that as a battleground for mayor, because we have so many divisive things going on. We should be looking at how we're going to bring this community back together to be the best community we can have.
I want to ask a follow-up question to this, because it came from the audience. Are you telling LMPD to stand down, as Mr. Dieruf has also just said, when it comes to abortion? Are you opposing a state law by telling LMPD to stand down?
I will tell LMPD not to arrest women or doctors if they are charged with violating Kentucky's extreme abortion ban. That is the one area where I will be very clear to LMPD. Mayors and city government set policy all the time about what are the priorities of our local police force. President David James and Metro Council recently passed an ordinance directing that it should not be a priority to arrest small possession of marijuana. That is the city government directing that is what a civilian-led city government means. It is the responsibility of the mayor, who the police chief reports to, and the mayor is then held accountable to the citizens of this city. So this is very much within the job description, and I will be very clear that this is not a priority. We will not be arresting women and doctors. Bill refuses to make that simple pledge. I think that says a lot.
Mr. Dieruf, the same question to you. Your policy regarding LMPD towards enforcing state law?
I guess what I can do is go for experience and what I've done. One of my chiefs asked me what you should do during a situation, and I sent him an email. And I'm going to read you the email to let you know, not politically I'm sitting up here and saying a statement, but actually what actually happened. I said, although I appreciate being kept informed of all activities occurring inside the city that you can legally share, I just wanted to be clear that it is solely your province as a chief to determine whether any specific event is or isn't a crime, or whether a set of circumstances should be investigated as a potential crime. Whether or not something needs to be involved of law enforcement is a responsibility and the decision of the police department. We are right. The state passes laws, council passes ordinances, but we can't interfere with the law to our satisfaction just because we don't like something. We have to change the law to make sure it is to where we represent the people of the city, not decide as a mayor which ones I want to follow and which ones I shouldn't.
Lawrence, can I just respond to that?
Please do, 30 seconds.
So just to, again, translate all of those words that Bill just read. That means what Bill is saying is that if Bill is elected mayor and you're a woman that has been storing your eggs to get in vitro fertilization because you were not able to naturally have a child, and you are done with that process, and 5 years later you decide to discard those eggs, that means Bill will not tell a police officer to not arrest that woman if she is accused of violating Kentucky's extreme abortion ban that is unclear and has no exceptions. So if you are a woman, that answer was very clear. You are at risk of being arrested under a Dieruf administration.
30-second rebuttal.
That's false. I mean, it almost isn't worth responding to because the laws that will come down will be the doctor and the medical board. We're not even going to be involved in it. The medical board is going to decertify the doctor if such happens, if that's the law. If it's not, it isn't. So the mayor is not going to actually be deciding which laws to enforce on abortion. The problem is the mayor that may want to be a mayor is trying to enforce laws all the way around, and that scares me.
Last question. You both have said improving education is a goal. What impact can the mayor have on the performance of JCPS? Mr. Dieruf, that begins with you.
Two things. It's 7 years ago, Glenn C., another mayor, and I started investigating preschool. And we realized that a young black male, by the time they get to third grade, is if they don't have the reading, writing, and math that they need to stay school ready, their destiny is 70% chance the wrong way, death or jail. And we didn't want that. So we went through the investigation of how do we look to preschool in the future. So we did it before it got to be headline news. We started working, and unfortunately Glenn passed away and we went into a pandemic. So we understand how to do this without financially bankrupting everybody and what it means to have churches and schools and everybody involved. But then you have JCPS that has a Louisville Academies program that is moving forward and teaching our kids when they come out, because not all kids come out have to go to college. We have to have the transition to college, and I have to say there's a person here that has been pushing Evolve 502 for many years, and God bless you for helping our students make the choices and be able to do the choices in the future. Both education as far as college and trade schools is something we have to look like as the people in employment should be here.
Mr. Greenberg.
Advocating for stronger public education has been a hallmark of my campaign since the day I am announced. I am a proud graduate of JCPS. My wife, Rachel, who's with us today, is a former Jefferson County public school teacher where she taught English as a second language at Wheatley Elementary School. I am the proud son of two parents who both started their career as public school teachers in New York City. I served on the board of U of L because I care about strong public education at all levels. And so I think the mayor can do a lot to advocate for strong public education in JCPS, but also to work to make universal pre-K a reality. We need to put Louisville on the map for some of the right reasons right now. We need to work with JCPS. We need to work with existing early child care providers, foundations, locally and nationally, to make universal pre-K a reality so that every 3- and 4-year-old child has the same opportunity to succeed, to have a safer life, a healthier life, and more prosperity. At the same time, we can work with JCPS, we can work with U of L, Simmons College, JCTC, Bellarmine, Spalding on workforce development training so that people in Louisville maybe even people who do not get a four-year degree, can have the right training to have good paying career path jobs, because everyone should have the same opportunity to succeed. So as mayor, there is a lot that you can do to support education, and I will definitely spend time on that as mayor.
Each candidate will have 1 minute now for a closing statement. And again, based on the coin flip, Mr. Greenberg will go first.
Thank you all very much for participating today and participating in our democracy. That is absolutely critical. When I started running for mayor, I loved to run. There are 623 precincts across all of Louisville. And before I became the Democratic nominee in the primary, I ran through all 623 precincts. I talked to a lot of people. I listened to their concerns. I answered their questions. I learned about the issues in their particular neighborhood and the common themes that are uniting all of us as a city that we have to deal with. I never once heard any individual of the thousands of persons who I met say, we need Mitch McConnell controlling city government. But friends, whether you like it or not, that's what's going on in this election. Mitch McConnell and his super PAC are trying to buy this election. They are investing hundreds of thousands of dollars to defeat me because they know that our administration will work with people across the city to move Louisville in a new direction. That is not the direction that Mitch McConnell wants this city to move in. So I ask you, stand with me. Let's stand up to Mitch McConnell, and together, let's move Louisville in a new direction.
Dieruf.
While my opponent has been running around the city, I have been running a city as mayor. So the experience I bring for 12 years is something that Mitch McConnell wasn't even involved in unless I had to call federal help with him or Yarmouth or anybody in Frankfurt. So to say he is part of the campaign now, it's a soundbite, guys. You have to get over soundbites, because running a city is nothing about soundbites. People ask, why do you want to do the mayor downtown? It's because of my grandkids. You saw the passion I have about my daughter Stephanie, and I have 2 grandboys. And I want to make sure those kids want to stay here and raise their family here and be proud here. I'm going to ask you to eliminate 5 words from your vocabulary. I want to be like. I want to be like Indianapolis. I want to be like Nashville. I want to be like Cincinnati. It's time we start being the city that everybody else wants to be like. It's time we become the leaders and quit following everybody, because we don't want to come in second. We want to come in first. Let's take what they have and make it better and move to where everybody wants to be like Louisville. I asked Danny Crum one time in an audience, I said, did you ever want to come in second when you were in the national championship? He said, no. Well, why do we as citizens of Louisville and residents of Louisville want to come in second? Let's start being the leaders that everybody else wants to follow.
These 2 men have conducted debates across the city dozens of times, including here at the Louisville Forum. And now I want you to show them your appreciation. Thank them for being here.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Excuse me. Well, on behalf of the entire Louisville Forum, as Lawrence said, thank you to our candidates. Thank you to our moderator, Lawrence Smith. I think Lawrence will agree with me. I want to, first of all, just compliment our forum membership and our guests today. Great questions and extraordinary restraint. Thank you. That was maybe the first time. Our next meeting is Wednesday, November 9th, just hours after the election results come in. We'll hopefully know who won by then. The forum will host instant reaction to the election results the next day, what they mean for our community and for our state, and what they say about next year's statewide election. And we're honored to welcome KET's Renee Shaw will be here to moderate our discussion with a panel of local journalists. Reservations will open later this afternoon on LouisvilleForum.org. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Joe.